Well, thank you all for joining us. My name is Rebecca Curry, and I'm the Public Services Supervisor in ESU Special Collections and Archives, which is hosting our program. We're pleased to have Kerry Moyer with us. He's a self-described dirt road poet who's published 3 collections of poetry with the Emporia-founded Kellogg Press and is active in the Kansas literary community through the Kansas Authors Club and the Emporia Writers Group. And today he'll be reading from his latest collection, Turnpike Prairie. Kerry.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for having me on. I look forward to sharing some poetry from the new book. This is the cover, Turnpike Prairie. It's got turnpike and some prairie, so it works out. So I guess I'll start by talking a little bit about the book and kind of what the inspirations were for this one. We've been living through a rather interesting couple of years. And so some of the pieces in the book were definitely inspired by the pandemic. I re-explore, themes of relationship, family, mental health issues. I get a little bit into some of the, more spirited adventures of my youth, like some of the stuff that probably could have landed me in jail at some point in my 20s, which I hadn't really talked a lot about in the earlier books. But for whatever reason, I was compelled to dive into some of that. A lot of the work is stuff similar to what you would have seen in earlier books. I guess we all kind of develop our own style and things we like to talk about. And I would say that is definitely the case here as well. I'll give Curtis Becker credit for the cover art. He took the pictures for the cover and they look pretty nice. And of course, my, normal inspirations and, people that have helped me along the way. Kevin Rabis continues to be a influence in my work, and I'm just glad I was able to get something out given everything the last couple of years have handed to us. So, and of course I love ESU. I'm a former Hornet, and I'm really glad to be able to share some of my work with you all here today. So I'll start with the title poem, Turnpike Prairie. Turnpike Prairie. Toll road runs north and south, a vein snaking through the Flint Hills. Limestone shone through tall grass. It changes with each passing season. Weathered billboards tell folks to stop here and buy that, while a Midwestern sky and all of its moods stretch out over highway signs, mile markers, and power lines. Hopeful travelers count the hours, and children ask when they will arrive. Wondering eyes look past fence lines, spy rolling cattle pastures, watershed ponds. Rows of many-colored cars, Jeeps, pickups. Semi-trucks carry the blood of a country through this Kansas Turnpike Prairie. So that is the title piece, Turnpike Prairie. And I was thinking about the fact that we have this road just cutting right through the middle of this nice historic space and how, people are always moving through it. And there's something to that, something kind of cool. Then again, I have a thing about roads, traveling, all that. So I think that the next thing I will read is getting into more of those kind of interesting times in my life. This is called 12 Miles West of Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Heading west, 12 miles outside of Santa Rosa, New Mexico, we set on Route 66, broke down. Luke's red 280Z with a burned up clutch heading to Arizona, and we were high, hungry, cold, listening to Cohen, talking Jesus, how we were broken, how we were going to get our gold. We chain smoked camels, drank truck stop coffee, watched that long stretch of road for anyone to drive by. And I'm thinking, I just need food, sleep. Jail would be all right this night. We watched the sunrise, bringing orange and red over a high desert sky. One car coming, and it's the law. White car flips red lights and pulls a U-turn, while Luke ate the weed and I hid my knife. So that was 12 miles west of Santa Rosa, New Mexico. So I was a little trepidatious about getting into some of the lifestyle choices I made when I was young, but I thought, I've never let the possibility of someone being critical of my life stop me from writing something before, so I'm not going to start now. So the next piece I'm going to share is called In and Out, and it's about the going to the store during the pandemic and like kind of thinking about those essential workers, right? And how much we ask of them. So this is called In and Out. Everyone is edgy, big-eyed. They rush in and rush out, pull on long rubber gloves, strap on cloth masks, wipe cart handles with disinfectant wipes. I see this checker who's probably making $10 an hour. Her eye is tired. Above her plain white mask, no smile under there. She goes to work, like shaking a fist and rolling a set of dice. But that was In and Out. That's kind of about that experience of feeling for those people, and knowing they're risking getting sick every time they go to work. Everybody tells them they're supposed to, right? So this is another one. This is kind of like more personal. This is about just an interaction between me and my son. And it's called A Tuesday. I hear computer keys click from my son's room, and I know he spends little time with friends face to face, but online they talk through mics, look at screens because COVID came and locked us in houses and rooms and wait. And I'm not sure what the day is. So I ask my son, who looks up, says, Tuesday, Dad. I think it's Tuesday. And looking away, he goes back to his glowing device. And I'll read one more COVID poem. I think, we're still dealing with it, right? This is called Bend. Walking, I scroll the news. I'm sorry, let me start over there. Bend. Waking, I scroll the news feed, see growing numbers of sick, growing death numbers, drink my coffee while the earth bends, our lives bend under COVID-19, and we wait. Hope that curve goes flat, and those numbers fall before we can't bend and it all breaks. So that was Bend. So I wrote this about being married and sleeping side by side with somebody for years, and kind of what that is. And I can't really explain it more than that. Maybe hearing it, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. It's called In Bed. Side by side, and it's quiet. But for the soft tap of fingers on small glowing screens, sound of my white fan droning is comfort. 20 years we've gone to our marriage bed. Some nights my wife and I separated by acres of blankets, and others nights by inches of sheets. But we sleep. We always go to sleep. So thinking about, the metaphor of distance. Sometimes it's there. Okay. So this, I was just thinking about how I have I guess you would say a bit of a wild streak in me. It goes back to when I was, 13 years old, and I jumped into the spillway at Ellery Lake at 1 o'clock in the morning on a dare. So, and that part of me is still there. he's locked up, you know. But every once in a while, I think about doing crazy things, you know, that would probably get me into a lot of trouble. Definitely cause some consternation with people that care about me. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. This is called Claws, and I like cats too. Claws. My cat can be so still, watching birds through glass or sleeping for hours, but for the occasional stretch in this window that holds his eyes and mine. I think with a hungry grin, I'm like a cat wanting to stretch my claws. So that okay. All right. I built a fire pit with Arkansas sandstone. I took a week off work to build this gigantic fire pit, and it was really, really cool. So I have this entire section of the book dedicated to fire, which is awesome because fire is cool. So this one, actually, I'll throw some love Kevin's way. We co-wrote this one. He has maybe a few in here. I like collaborating with Kevin because, well, I mean, he's like Yoda and I'm like Skywalker, right? He's like giving me the some tools, you know. So fire pit out back. I hauled in Arkansas sandstone, red and brown, and Sarah and the boys and I stacked rocks, hollowed a pit for the fire, poured gas from a can, and lit the wood. Night in the fire, lights on our faces like ancient paint, across cave walls, and after 6 or 7 days straight, with a shovel, I've settled like wheat dust on a fresh cut field. So, along the same line of fire. Okay, we gather, and this is what I like about getting people together for a fire pit for cooked meat and beer and whatever, you know. I dug up rock from hard earth, dropped sweat like hot rain from a salty soiled forehead onto Arkansas sandstone stacked in a circle for logs to burn on cool autumn nights. We gather here, quiet, for light, for heat. That's we gather. And I'll read one more fire poem and then I'll move on. This is called To Sit Before a Fire. To sit before a fire, my thoughts a pyre, a flame, each word like matchstick struck, burning, writing a primitive song on my heart, like all men who sit before a fire with a heart aflame. So there was that. I'm going to read The Cat That Ate the Canary because it's weird. And so my dad, after my folks divorced, he moved to Wichita. He hitchhiked from El Dorado to Wichita to go work for this car lot. And he eventually got enough money to get a place to live. And so he got this place with this guy named Jimmy. And Jimmy was an interesting fellow. He did interesting things. I'm going to tell you more. I'm just going to read the poem. You'll figure a little bit out about Jimmy. You know, he's probably dead. He lived a hard life. That was a long time ago. Kind of harsh thing to say, isn't it? It is a bit. Sorry. So The Cat That Ate the Canary. Dad moved to Wichita to sell cars and got a place with Jimmy. This one time, Jimmy got high on cocaine, broke his leg doing karate in the shower. Jimmy sold used cars, drank cheap whiskey, owned an Atari, played Pac-Man, talked about the hustle, was always grinning like the cat that ate the canary. So that was The Cat That Ate the Canary about Jimmy from Wichita. I'm going to read this one because Rhonda Miller, a friend of mine and fellow poet, liked it. So, and it's right here next to The Cat That Ate the Canary. It's called Watercolor, and it was based on a dream I had. Watercolor houses lined watercolor streets under watercolor skies. All the edges bleed together, turning the reds and blues to purple, blues and yellows to green, faces to sagging masks looking out sagging windows. My watercolor memories wander to Warren Road, and I'm a boy running, wearing watercolor shoes. That's watercolor. So this I wrote. I suffer from depression, or I live with it. I don't know if I want to use the word suffer. I live with it. Anxiety and depression, hyperactivity. It's all been they keep me company sometimes. But I wrote about when I'm in the deep, when I'm in it deep and I'm struggling. I call this 2 rooms. He moved between 2 rooms. Sunlight came in through 2 windows, 1 in each room. He didn't look out, but every now and then, when a noise drew his ears, when light drew his eyes, he carried this sadness that kept him moving from one room to the other, wearing a path between on a scratched wooden floor, no desire to wander out of doors, his wife, children downstairs, hearing the pacing, waiting, hoping to hear him walk down the stairs. But that's 2 rooms. I don't think I wrote anything in this book that's long. I don't think I have anything that would count as like a long poem. Let me think here. Okay. So this is another co-wrote. I'm going to share it just because. How are we on time, by the way? Good. We good-ish. So I used to get in fights a lot when I was growing up. And Kevin, we got this thing we're working on a bit. We were talking about one in particular that I remembered and how that went. So, and this ended up being something that we did together. It's called Slow Walk to a High School Fight. Slow Walk to the High School Fight. Slow walk to the train tracks by this clearing of trees where I will square up with Jones, pinch closed my fists, blood pumps. I can feel my pulse in my fingers, my breathing loud, but I'm light on my feet. Jones walks ahead, but glances back and I see it. His fear, cold like frost on his shoulders. He stutter steps, stops, says, "Do we have to do this?" I tell him we do. Should have thought about that before. We keep walking, slow walk into the clearing beside where the tracks come together, a weaving, a twining like with snakes. That's Slow Walk to the High School Fight. Something that's like wholesome. Let's find something wholesome. Red tomatoes. It's about my grandfather. He used to always give me garden tomatoes, and they're great memories. Anyway, this is called Red Tomatoes. Red tomatoes from the garden, picked, placed into a wicker basket on the counter, and Grandpa asks, "Would you like to take some home?" Grandpa's blue eyes over the top of glasses, his busy hands already finding the plastic bag, and I would say yes, like always, for love, for him to give, for me to receive from his garden, and then coffee, news of the day, before Grandpa would go to his recliner and nap. So he always gave me tomatoes. I miss him. Anyway, that's a great segue into this next one here. So Empty Lot is about going to, no, I'm not gonna read that one. I'm gonna read this one. This is called In Song. So we've all listened to music, and music makes us think of people. Well, that's what this is. In songs. I was listening to a song when the words led to thoughts and then to faces, people I loved and they are gone. And that feeling welled up in my chest, my father's face when he was in his hospital bed, and Grandpa working in his garden, and Grandma slipping me a $5 bill at Christmas. And I felt the losses like they were new again, and I missed their faces and their voices and them being in the world. Now they are all in songs. I didn't read a couple of the launch that I wanted to, because I forget things a lot. So I've got this piece called Trench Warfare. It's about kind of fighting myself, fighting my own demons. And I love world history and World War I history. And anyway, this is called Trench Warfare. Mud, blood, barbed wire out in no man's land, and I'm crouched, hidden behind sandbags, In this trench, at war with my nature, waiting for the whistle that will send me over the top, be covered in mud, blood, tangled in barbed wire that cuts, holds me there, always right there. We find those two. Oh, okay. So, all right. So if I met the devil, this one is almost like a beat poem. This at least how people tell me. I don't know if it is. If I met the devil, I'd challenge him to a duel. 10 paces and I'd cheat. Beat him at his own game. I'd punch him in the face, poke him in his evil eye for all the pain, for staining our souls in the garden, at the store, on the street, in our homes, in church, in our heads. I'd ask him if he knows any of my kin. If he pesters them, if I'm damned for my sins, I'd ask him if I could take a dip in the river Styx. I would inquire if Virgil was a guide for all the new tenants. If they scream hopeless repentance, complain about the rent, I'd ask him why he didn't settle for number 2 in heaven. I'd tell him that vanity is folly. I'd ask if he misses being loved by God. I'd ask if I could pray for him. So I thought that was fun. This is called In Church, and it's about my mom giving my brother and I gum in church. And for whatever reason, it's something I really remember. In church, the scent of Mitten's mother, chewing gum like communion, torn, broken, given to my brother and me, each of us an equal share. I'd smile, give thanks every Sunday. And I knew chewing gum in church was holy, like mother's love of God, as she blessed each piece held in the vessel of her brown leather purse. So that was a good thing. That's an interesting thing about my mother. She did that. Let me find, okay. This is Surface Tension. This is one that I really like because I'm a hopeless romantic, to be honest. Like I just am. Like and every time I've loved hard, and it always hangs on a little. You're haunted a bit. But I have this how we can be haunted and how things can come to us in moments. And so I wrote this. It's called Surface Tension. I was actually literally thinking in my head about surface tension of water, how things bead together. But anyway, I'm weird. Surface tension. The surface tension of water is strong. Molecules clean, bead together, form drops, pool wherever they are close to one another. The man washed his face, warm water on his hands, while thoughts of her flowed. Each one clung to him. Warm molecules of her pooled around his morning. Those water thoughts, drops of her, that surface tension strong, clinging to him while he looked in the mirror, and water memories like drops fell to the sink below. And there's one that actually got published in a magazine that if I can find it, it's called Fireflies. I guess I could actually use, there it is, 37. Toward the end here. This is in Astra magazine. So they're cool people. Fireflies. When the fireflies light up and flicker outside my window, I am drawn. The radio plays notes from folk songs bowed across fiddles. Barefoot girls spin while boys stomp, dust floors, guitars pick and drop in notes in mason jars. I see ghosts singing hymns, songs about white lightning and longing, dreams, mountain streams, places they will never see again. And those fireflies flicker, glow, dim like prayers outside my window, below a waning moon. So those are several pieces from Turnpike Prairie. And I want to thank you all for listening. And if you feel like picking up the book, it's available through CarolinaPress.com, at the Granada Coffee Company, Emporia Arts, well, not EAC yet because I need to get them copies, Travel City Adventure Company, and all of your online retailers. But please support local if you can. And I want to thank everybody and Rebecca for having me on. It's been super cool and fun. Thanks a lot.
Oh, well, thank you for being here to share that with us. And again, thanks to everyone for coming. Before we sign off, I do want to let everyone know about another event we have coming up with local authors. So on October 25th, we'll have a reading by some members of the Emporia Writers Group, including Curtis Becker, Kevin Ravis, Tracy Simmons, and another appearance from Kerry. And that will be at 7 p.m. and it'll be available to view live or recorded at emporia.edu/live. So we hope to see everyone there.